Making you and Casey safe.
Okay. Didn't see where John got to.
There you go.
Oh, no, Jay. I said John. Oh, he'll probably be here in a moment. It's enough to get started, though. Oh, cool. Okay. I'll try not to use my gavel and hurt my M&Ms. I'd like to call this meeting, the Clay County Commission, to order. We will begin with our invocation. Hannah, if you'd like to come up, there you are, and lead us in prayer.
Our Heavenly Father, we come before Thee with grateful hearts for the blessings Thou hast bestowed upon our families, our community, and this great county. We're grateful for Thy Son, Jesus Christ, whose life and teachings remind us to love our neighbors, seek peace, and serve others with willing hearts. We thank Thee for the privilege of living in a land where we may gather freely to deliberate. Please bless these commissioners and all who serve the people of Clay County. Grant them wisdom to discern what is right and humility to listen with understanding and compassion. We ask Thee for Thy continued guidance and blessing upon this meeting and upon Clay County. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Thank you. Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Nolte?
Here.
Commissioner Withington? Here. Commissioner Lawson? Here. Commissioner Wagner?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Thompson? Commissioner Carpenter?
Here.
With that, we will go to approval of the agenda. Commissioner Johnson,
Move to approve tonight's agenda.
motion has been made for the approval of this evening's agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, you'll recognize to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson? Yes. Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Next on our agenda are ceremonial matters. Mr. Administrator?
Yes, good evening. On the ceremonial matters, we have 2026-205, Proclamation America 250 Citizen Challenge Coin presentation for Jennifer Justice, and Commissioner Wagner will take it from there.
Commissioner, if you'd like to proceed.
Thank you. Continuing our discussion from last week, this is our opportunity to officially recognize Jennifer Justice for completing the America 250 Citizen Challenge, which, as I'll remind everyone, was put together by a number of volunteers. I happen to be one of them. During the 250th anniversary of the founding of this country, to try to create an opportunity for people to learn more and figure out ways of being probably not a better citizen, but a more engaged one. And as we talked about last week, certainly Jennifer has done that work. And even if she was not running for anything, I would say I'm very proud of her for doing this challenge, because today we've had 190 people, and we're a much larger county than that. So anyone who takes the time to engage in the history, the citizenship, the founding of this nation is something to be applauded. And hopefully for those who may be watching, it's an opportunity to see that since others are doing it, that you can do it too. So Jennifer, I won't repeat everything I said last week, but what I will say is that I appreciate you coming here today to officially receive your coin, and as promised, a lovely proclamation that not everybody gets. But just as you have come here, we have had many folks who have come and received their coin in North Kansas City, in Gladstone, in Liberty, and so I'm very happy that you have joined their ranks, and know, because I know you so well, that this is just one more rung in the ladder of your participation in our community and in government as a whole, not just in Clay County, but in this state and across the country. So congratulations. And the only question I have is, do you want to keep the used coin that you received last week, or would you prefer a new one? In which case, you want me to flip it to him? Okay, watch out. I was lucky the first time. There you go.
There you go.
But all kidding aside and all fun aside, doing this work is sometimes a labor of love as far as doing the work that allows you to receive this coin. So thank you for doing it. I appreciate it very much.
Are there any other commissioners who would like to make any comments at this time? No? Okay. I just want to say I came in today, and I think I was the first one to sign the certificate, which was great. I appreciate that. Jennifer, I appreciate the work you put in, and I'd like to have you come up and then give us a little bit of flavor of your experience. The hope is that as more citizens hear what people have done and how much it means to them to do this project, that we will become more and more inundated with people who want to achieve this honor. So please proceed.
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner Nolte. Thank you, Commissioner Wagner, and to everyone on this commission. Honestly, you all have been so gracious to me, and I greatly appreciate that. One of the pieces of this challenge was to thank elected officials. And many people in this room probably know me because I like to write thank you cards. So I have thanked many elected officials over time, and that was something that was cultivated in me at a very young age, is gratitude. And I think we could all have a little bit more gratitude through which we see the lens of everything. And if we start with a grateful, joyful heart, a lot of other things fall into peace. As I did this challenge, I had shared with Commissioner Wagner that I had been to the Constitution Hall courtesy of the Realtors when I was doing some work with Congressman Graves as his federal political coordinator. So I've had the privilege to go literally see the original document and then again see documents in Washington, D.C. at the Library of Congress, which is also very amazing. But we have sites here around Clay County that I visited because it was inspired by other people that came forward to get their 250 challenge when they spoke about the Historical Society over here. We have one in Kearney. We have one, around, and North Kansas City has one. Gladstone has one. And we have treasures from our history of 204 years. This county was founded by Henry Clay. And this challenge inspired me to learn more about the statesman. And the statesman founded this county based on collaboration, something that you all know is very near and dear to my heart, building bridges and collaborating. So in receiving this award, thank you so much for the volunteers that came up with it, but it challenged me, as involved as I am, to learn more about this great county that we get to call home and how privileged we are to be able to collaborate with one another, to worship freely, as the ladies came and prayed earlier, and to just have citizenship in Clay County, Missouri, because it's pretty amazing. So I hope that other people will join the challenge. I'm going to continue sharing it out, maybe make some videos of the historical places around this county. And as you know, my stepmom is very, very into the history of this county. And she's continued to teach me things that I didn't know about it. So I'm very blessed in that aspect because not everybody has that honor. So again, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you all very much. Thank you for the work that you choose to do. And thank you for bringing us all together. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. We will, unless there are other commissioners who have anything to say, we will gather here and get a few pictures of the presentation of the certificate. That moves us on to our public comments portion of the agenda. Are there any members of the public who would like to make any comments? Please come forward. Make sure the green light is on. State your name and address your comments to the commission, please.
Good evening. I'm Teresa Lemming, Kansas City, Missouri. First off, I want to say congratulations to John Carpenter. It was
Could you
fun.
speak just a little bit more loudly,
Okay.
please?
I want to say congratulations to John Carpenter. It's been fun. Thank you for the learning curve. But I want to do a shout out and commend the election board. They did an incredible job. There was a little glitch. They handled it extremely well, and I'm very proud of them and the results. I first heard about the glitch because a friend of mine in California who was following the results saw it and called me and said, "What's up with this?" So the whole world knew that Clay County had a glitch, and they handled it very, very well, very professionally. And I'm just very thankful for all of the people who worked the polls, for the judges, for everyone involved. They all did a tremendous job, and they should all be well commended. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other citizens wishing to come forward and make any comment to the commission? Seeing none, we will now move to our consent agenda. Mr. Administrator.
Yes, good evening. I have one item tonight on our consent agenda. 2026-209, approval invoice payments for Clay County for the period of July 25th through July 31st. Had a total of 280 invoices totaling $473,791.68. And that'd be it for the consent agenda.
Commissioner Johnson.
Move to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Motion has been made for the approval of this evening's consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
That brings us to our regular agenda. We have two items, the first being 2026-211. Mr. Administrator.
Yes, 2026-211, approval of RFP number 19-26 for IMS Infrastructure Management Services. We have our Road and Bridge Director, Tom Dagenhart, who will speak to additional information regarding this one.
Please proceed.
Thank you. The 2026 budget for Road and Bridge included a pavement conditioning index, or PCI, system to rate our asphalt and our chip seal streets. Excuse me. 7 vendors responded to our request for proposal. Some were interviewed, and Infrastructure Management System, or IMS, was chosen unanimously. Resolution 2026-211 is for the consideration of this system with IMS. With us this evening from IMS is Megan Ratliff to show you the rating scoring system software and what it can do. So with that, I'll turn it over to Megan.
Thank you very much. Can everyone hear me? Great. So I'm here today to talk to you about our potential project with Clay County, Missouri. As mentioned, it is for a pavement condition index rating for your asphalt and chip sealed roads. So let me maybe just use this. So first, I'm an engineer with...
Excuse me, if
Yes.
you could speak just a little bit more loudly, it would be appreciated.
Awesome, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is this better? Better? Okay. Sorry. I'm an engineer with IMS, and I'm here to talk to you today about this potential project, about your asphalt and chip sealed roads, performing that pavement condition index survey. So first, I'll introduce myself, my company, and what this means for you guys. I'll talk through what this scope of work looks like. I'll talk through how we go about managing projects, because we believe that's very important. And then I'll go into how we actually will collect this data, because it's automated. It's not biased by human eyes or anything like that. And of course, we'll also talk about our QC plan, and then how we will actually integrate this into a pavement management system for you all. And then finally, I'll talk about just kind of why us again, and open it up for questions. So again, I'm an engineer at IMS, and we typically lay out our projects with this system that you see here. We have a dedicated project manager. So it will be RJ, who is a dear friend. She is very good at managing projects. She's got her project management professional certification. And then we will also have a dedicated engineer for this project as well. And I will be there as support and make sure if there's any questions or anything that comes up, we'll have the ability to answer those questions and deal with them as they come along. But IMS as a whole has a giant bench, a deep bench for engineers and project managers. So if there's ever a problem, there's always going to be somebody that knows how to solve it. And as you know, every county, every city is unique. So typically there is a need to problem solve or come up with solutions on the fly. So we have a deep bench of engineers and project managers that can assist. And this is our team of engineers. There's me. And then the rest of the engineering team is available to help me out if I were to need assistance. We have different expertise areas. Marcial Mota, who will be the dedicated engineer for this project, if it should happen, he's got 7 years of experience with many different pavement management systems, which is very important because we don't want to try to put something in place for you guys that we don't have any experience with. We like to have deep knowledge of these things and ensure that, if there's something that goes wrong, we have the ability to fix it and make it exactly what you need it to be. So we also like to start projects with understanding, what's going on in Clay County? What is the current situation? What are we trying to solve? So the way that it was laid out in the RFP is you have 352 centerline miles of asphalt and chip sealed roadways. It's very important to know, a general estimate of this quantity so that we know exactly where to go, what to assess, what we should be deploying when we assess these roads. You don't currently have a pavement management system, and we're here to help with that. We will help you implement one. And this will have the ability to plan for a number of years and forecast for budgets. So that is one of the things that we'll be doing in this project as well. And chip sealed surfaces actually are a unique surface type. So it's very good that you've called this out because they look a lot like asphalt roadways, but they sometimes behave differently. They present differently when it comes to distresses on the surface. And then you also mentioned that you work with CityWorks asset management system. So everything we will provide, all the data, will work with that system that you already have. So that's the current situation as we understand it, and we're prepared to provide deliverables that work with this. So another thing, just want to highlight, we have extensive experience at IMS in the Missouri area, in this area. So Kansas, Illinois, Missouri, Ohio, Texas, just kind of the greater area, and DOTs as well. And I'll highlight why that's important here in a little bit. But essentially, we just want to highlight here that, we have experience in the area. We know, that there are certain things that are specific to this area, like maybe how the chip sealed surfaces perform, or maybe how much it costs for different contractors to perform work, which is important for budgeting and forecasting. So we have experience in the area, and we're prepared to leverage that for this project. So now I'll talk through the scope of work and how we will actually perform this work. So it's very important from a project management standpoint to outline, okay, what is it that we are getting from this? We need to know this up front so that we don't deviate. So one of the standard things we provide is a data quality management plan. This is important from the perspective of wanting to get the data right. You want to have confidence in the data that we are delivering to you. So this will just assure you, and I'll go through what this actually means, but essentially it's a document that outlines how we perform our QC efforts. And then actually we will collect all of the data in Clay County that is part of that centerline mileage automatically. So I'll go through what that will be done with, but there's not just somebody going out and counting cracks or potholes or anything like that. Everything will be calculated and compiled according to industry standards. The most common one is ASTM D6433. So this may not be widely known, but in this room, but it is very well known in the industry that this is how the pavement condition index should be calculated. So you'll have confidence that we are calculating this the same way that the rest of the industry is calculating that condition index. And we will also provide all of the data geo-referenced. So basically, we will give you a file that you can open up on your computer and see on a map and see where all of the data is and what it looks like in different areas. And then kind of finally to wrap it up, just a multi-year pavement management plan. So essentially, we're going to provide you with recommendations, treatment recommendations like reconstruction or overlay for different roadways, and the timing aspect, because it is important to try to prioritize roadways for the different years, given a certain budget. So that's the goal of, collecting all of this data, putting it into a system. What do you get out of that? A pavement management plan that is practical and utilizes Clay County's budget and their treatment recommendation, treatments that you use in this area as well. So finally, we'll put all of those recommendations, once everything is reviewed by the Clay County team and approved that, yep, this looks good to go, we'll put it in a report so that you can share either internally or, decide how you want to distribute or disseminate the information. But essentially, it'll be all compiled into a easy-to-read report. So all of our projects follow this kind of flow that you see here. We kick it off, we establish those deliverables, we talk through any points of concern or things that might be potentially confusing. We will make sure that the map is exactly where you want us to collect. We won't collect anything you don't want us to. And we will also ensure at that time that it's reported in a way that you want it. So maybe you want to know how this road, the condition is, or maybe you want to see it more granular. Sometimes that is something that agencies would like to see. We nail that down up front so that it's very clear how we're going to process that data. We will then go out and collect all of the data for the network, and this is a very speedy process. I'll go through kind of in more detail what that looks like, but it's very quick. It doesn't disturb traffic. There's no need for traffic control or anything, but we'll be kind of in and out in probably about a week for a network this size, maybe less. And then at that time, we'll also establish in tandem with that all of the different things that we consider important from an analysis standpoint. What is Clay County's budget? What kind of treatments do you utilize here? Those types of information that is critical for customizing the results. Then we'll process everything. We'll review the plan that we've generated with Clay County. And again, we'll put it into a final report that is approved, and then we'll close out the project. So as a whole, this is the project that we're talking about, and it can last anywhere from just a couple of weeks to 2 months, 3 months, depending on the collaborative nature of the project. Because sometimes there is some back and forth, but it really depends on that collaborative effort. And just to briefly highlight, project management is very important to us. We have a dedicated project manager who is an extreme professional and is very intent on weekly updates, making sure that you guys understand where the project is. So this is an example of a dashboard that we would send weekly to update you on the status. So I'll get into the data collection now. This is usually the most fun part. You can see the vehicle here. This is what we will drive the roadways with. And there's a ton of technology on here. I won't go into detail, but the two most important pieces are, I think you can see, the laser crack measurement system here on the back. So that is pointing straight down on the surface of the pavement. I'll show you some example images in a little bit. And then the profiler bar on the front of the vehicle. These are the most important pieces of technology as they get that very important pavement condition information. So I'll go into more detail on that here in a minute. So this is an example of some of the imagery that we get from that laser crack measurement system. And just wanted to highlight, a lot of different vendors have this ability to collect this information, but ICC IMS has learned how to refine the processing to better detect cracks. And you might be thinking, well, isn't that easy? You can see the cracks. Well, it's very difficult to get algorithms to sometimes detect this information. So you can see here, the top just shows the algorithms straight out of the box, the resulting sealed cracking, for example. And then we've refined the algorithms over time to what you see below. You can see the red, that it's captured all of that sealed cracking. So obviously, it's important to accurately capture that because it changes the score. The more cracking, the lower the score. So it's important to capture it accurately here. And then I'll just briefly highlight, we have a camera on the vehicle that has like the right-of-way imagery. And just to briefly explain the importance of this laser crack measurement system that we have on the back of the vehicle, all of these pictures were taken at different times of day, different times of year, at the same exact location. You'll notice, in this one in particular, there's a very large shadow. If you were to work with an agent or a vendor that has maybe a GoPro solution or something like a camera phone, this type of setup or lighting situation would probably confuse their system. But with ours, you can see at the same times of day, same as the previous one, the laser crack measurement system, it's the exact same. It's continuously illuminating, so it eliminates that concern of shadows or other things that would maybe trick a GoPro system or something similar. And just further confirming that it doesn't matter the day or time of year with our laser crack measurement system. So briefly talk about another thing. We have what's called SmartSync. It's our solution to better refine those algorithms. And we wanted to highlight this in particular because it was designed specifically for chip sealed surfaces or high macro textured surfaces. So those types of surfaces tend to trick lasers, and we've got a solution that is meant to address that, essentially. So you can see here kind of the purpose of that solution. You can clearly see the cracking here, but again, without SmartSync, our solution, by default, it misses some of the cracking in between. And it's just a limitation of the algorithms by default. But with our solution, it picks up a lot more of the cracking that's there. So it's just a better refined algorithm than by default, essentially. And you can see here it also addresses what we call false positives. So we don't want to dock a road just because our system had trouble detecting real versus fake cracks, which can happen. So we've eliminated that as well. And I'll briefly just highlight some of the data quality things that we do. So here's our van getting independently certified at the National Center for Asphalt Technology test track. This is, again, just a third-party, independently verified for roughness, so International Roughness Index. It gets calibrated and certified every so often. We also run validation loops and daily calibration checks on the vehicles, so there's really no concern about bad data with our vehicle. And I won't go into this, but essentially, we perform all of these checks the same as we do for our DOT clients. So you're getting that DOT level of quality control at the municipality level. So we do it on all of our projects. It's just kind of our standard. And it's outlined in our data quality management plan. So next, I'll talk about the software. This is something just to highlight how seamless our data flow is. We have what's called our Unify software suite. We collect the data with our Drive software, and then it goes straight into Connect, where we QC and process this data, and then it goes to Inform, which is something that we will deliver to you guys, and you'll be able to see all of the imagery and data in one place. The main takeaway here is we're not subbing anything out. We're not breaking the chain for the data. It's all in one place. It flows from one to the next, which really expedites the process. And I'll briefly hit on Inform because this is something you will receive. This is something, like I said earlier, it has all of the imagery, the forward-facing and that laser crack measurement system imagery, as well as maps and the tabular view of the data. So it has all of that in one place for Clay County to see, scroll through, jump to a certain area. Maybe a resident has a comment on a particular part of the road, or maybe even, like a street sign or something. You can go directly to this and see what's going on. A lot of our clients, call it like their own Google Maps. It's the most up-to-date imagery that you can have, and more detailed at that. So this is a very helpful tool for a lot of different things that we can go into detail later on. So next, I'll talk about the pavement management system that we will implement for Clay County. So one was not specified in the RFP. So we proposed our internal tool that is a spreadsheet that we have a lot of confidence in and can definitely show you guys how to use that. But if you're interested in another, we can definitely help you set that up as well. We have experience with essentially all of them. Marcial Mota, who is going to be the dedicated engineer for this project, has worked with all of these and can definitely help you find the right fit for you if you don't want to use our tool. So yeah, we can definitely help you choose the right one if that's the route that you want to go. Or we can proceed with the one that was proposed that is a spreadsheet tool, and it's definitely the cheapest. So that's why we've kind of gone into that tool here. So I'll briefly highlight what it means. So ESA is our Easy Street Analysis spreadsheet, and it is a very powerful macro-enabled spreadsheet that is capable of generating that multi-year pavement management plan. So it takes all of that data that we've collected and put into it as well those inputs that you would provide, like budget or treatment types, unit rates, things like that. It takes all of that and produces that 5-year plan that is optimized for your budget and your various needs in particular. So it has a lot of helpful charts and graphs that help convey this information as well. So you can see here for this sample network, the current network average condition is 76, and then there's a backlog of 6.2. So what this means is, on average, the roads are about 76, which is really good. The pavement condition index scale goes from 0 to 100. So 76, that's pretty good. That tells you you're in a good spot. And it helps you identify where you need to focus at a glance. And then this is very difficult to read, but this is just an example of the type of output that you would get from this system. Not only will you get that the multi-year plan, you'll get budgeting forecasts, right? So you'll see the effect of different budgets or different targets that you might have on the pavement condition index. And you'll also see, maybe, for example, you want to target a PCI of 75, just make up a number. We'll tell you exactly how much money it's going to take to accomplish that goal over the analysis period of maybe 5 years, for example. So it's very helpful for planning for the near future, what kind of budget you want to establish. And this is just an example of that actual plan that you would see. So you're seeing for each road in the network, a treatment type that we're recommending based on the condition and the priority of that roadway, as well as the recommended year for that treatment. So there is the timing aspect, which is very important for this. And I won't go into too much detail, but essentially you just see a ton more breakdown of this information. Maybe you have council presentations you want to throw this information in. We can definitely help you brainstorm ideas for that, or even perhaps do one for you. You can see all the different breakdowns of the information. And another thing that's very helpful is you can see this on a map at the end of this. The data is great, but sometimes we just need to see a map of it to better identify, what do we actually want to do? What will work for us? So we're able to do that with this information as well. So I will wrap this up with why IMS. So really, we want to help you go from, potentially a reactive or a more costly approach to pavement management, because Pavements are one of your biggest, most expensive assets. We want to help you become more proactive and manage your network more cost effectively, utilizing an actual pavement management system with just a ton of data. So really, it's the point is to be a data-driven pavement management system that you can use for years to come. And just to briefly highlight, because this is sometimes a little bit hard to understand, but we have here pavement condition index, so that 0 to 100 score on the left, and then we have age of pavements on the bottom, the x-axis. So pavements deteriorate, right? So they just do over time due to the environment, due to traffic, you name it, they just do. So what we want to do as pavement engineers, as pavement management professionals, is try to extend the life of the pavement. We want to make it be in as good a condition as we can for as long as possible. So the way that we do that is a little bit counterintuitive. We try to do treatments to roads that are in good condition. So you can see here, it costs a lot less to do something like a chip seal or a slurry seal or something very thin, if you can kind of conceptualize it that way, to a road that is already not that bad. It's maybe got a couple of cracks, but overall it's pretty good. What we want to do as pavement management professionals is treat those roadways and try to prolong them for as long as possible, because the alternative is we let it deteriorate to this point where it's really expensive, when you can basically only reconstruct. We don't want to do that, because then that's all you're doing is just reconstructing. It becomes very expensive and very hard to dig out of that hole, so to speak. So we're trying to extend the life of the pavements and stretch the budget as much as we can. And that's kind of shown on a bigger scale here. But essentially, you can see the cost savings from one scenario to the next, from one where you're doing the conventional approach of just reconstructing or doing thick overlays, to one where you're doing a more optimized approach where there's more preventive maintenance like chip seals or slurry seals. So ultimately, you will see a cost savings if you implement this kind of approach. That essentially all pavement management systems that I showed earlier today, they all take this approach into account. So I'll wrap it up with a final why IMS. We've done this very type of project many, many times. We have about 150 of these every single year. I myself have worked on 50 plus in various different stages. We have a deep bench, as I mentioned, that can jump in and work to a solution for all of the projects. We've also worked all over the country, so we have a lot of different types of experience with different people, different types of roadways, different solutions that we've had to implement, different pavement types. So really just we have a ton of experience over our 50 years, and we're prepared to leverage that for this project. So, as I've been saying, just we have our Easy Street Analysis tool, and like I mentioned, this is the cheapest solution. There's no software, or there's no subscription that would have to be paid for this since it's Excel-based. We've worked all over the country and in the Midwest in particular. We have a good deal of in-house pavement management experience, and we have those solutions that are tailored to things like chip seals with our SmartSync technology. And then finally, everything is third-party certified through different places like INCAD or TTI and ICART. So data quality is very important to us, and we will definitely stand by that. So I will stop talking and open it up for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. That was a lot of material. Commissioner Lawson, I believe you were up first.
Thank you. Some of those graphs look like something you saw on Skinwalker Ranch. It really is overwhelming in a way, but I think it can be an unbelievable tool. You know, and it goes down, not just, it's looking at the cracks, but it's looking at the subsurface somewhat, Is it?
Somewhat.
Yeah, and then you can tell, and then when you give the report, you, like, say it's Salem Road, then you can say, oh, a few cracks, but, and then say, but here's what's happening, and, you know, the base isn't strong enough, and whatever else might be advised.
Yeah, I should clarify. So it's with those lasers, you can't see below the surface, but we, as pavement engineers, can make inferences from the types of distresses we're seeing on the surface. Like, I don't know if you can kind of picture alligator cracking. It looks kind of like the back of an alligator, but essentially that tells you, as an engineer, this is beyond preventive maintenance. It is just, the only thing you can do is reconstruct or do a very deep patch. So things like that, we'll be able to see the surface and tell you, okay, this is a structural or sub-base issue, this is not, based on our viewing of the surface, yes.
Okay. I have a question for Mr. Degenhardt. So, I always like to put him on the spot. He loves it. So here's the question. This isn't a ridiculously expensive for what we get, you
That's
know,
correct.
frankly.
No, right.
And so once this report comes back in November, November, I think was the right date, then come spring, if you have, say, 50 miles of bad road that she has isolated, you know, 1 through 10, have we got the funds then to go forward and make those corrections on the roads?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you until I see the scope of the report, but I mean, traditionally, we would just kind of being reactive. So
Right.
this software will allow us to tell us where we need to be. So we'll get an overall rating of our system, and the one she showed was 70. Ours may be 40, and then it's our desire to become a 70. So we'll put that into the software, and they'll say, okay, to become a 70 over a certain amount of time, you'll need to bump your funding from 4.5 million to 6.5 million. So that's the beauty of this system. It'll tell us
Great.
what we need to fund and where we want to be.
And further, you know, we talk about our 5-year plan, and it's great. But once that you've got this data, we need to go in and reevaluate that 5-year and say, well, we thought we'd do this, but look at the information we got on this, and then change that around.
Right.
Versus trying to stick to it. You know, better to make somebody a little unhappy because we didn't do their road in June instead of waiting till, you know, December or November to do it.
Right.
Because we really need to attend to this particular road
Right.
that's shown you it's in a worse shape than you thought it was.
So
I
later
guess.
this evening, I have the 5-year update. And if you notice in the 5-year plan, 2030, which is the 5th year of the plan, I don't have any roads on there because we proposed this, and I was kind of waiting for this software to be approved and unveiled before I programmed 2030. But we can certainly go back and look at 2028 and 2029 for the recommendations out of the software.
Yeah, I'd like to see this put into effect then, and you plan who gets fixed when by that plan, because
Right.
that really does show you some interesting things.
Exactly.
I'm very impressed, and I'm not easily impressed.
Commissioner Withington.
Hey, I'm excited about this. This is something I've been talking about for several years now. When I ran the first time in 2022, I talked about this on the campaign trail, and Michael Mahoney tried to tell me that the county was already doing this, and I told Michael Mahoney the county wasn't doing this, so I know more than Michael Mahoney on this thing, so. Yeah, I'm really glad to receive this. You know, like I said, I've talked about this several times, and I was surprised that a county our size had not been doing it. You know, people had been sitting up here on the commission for decades, and I was just shocked that they never implemented this. And then when I found out that the previous highway administrator would just drive the roads every spring and just look at them himself, and then we find a road that hadn't been touched in 30 years. You know, it's just crazy to think that people would get so upset with a commissioner proposing to use technology and trying to change for the better. You know, so I'm really glad that we're doing this. So thanks for bringing that forward.
Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for that detailed presentation and for all the information. But I would like to just dumb that down to about 20 or 30 seconds and tell me where I'm wrong. What I see is you have a pretty sophisticated vehicle, a van, with some sophisticated equipment, very sophisticated software. And what that does, that can drive down our streets. It could examine all of our streets for specifically cracks and the size of cracks in the street. That's really what it examines, right? Just that. And with that, you can make some inferences about substructure, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
But that's what it examines, right? The cracks and the size of the cracks.
Yeah, but it's not limited to cracks like potholes.
Okay.
We have differentiations, but yes, like rutting, cracks, potholes, basically any distress that you will see on the surface.
On
Yes.
the surface, okay. And it takes all of that, puts it into the software system, and you could pull out of that any sort of different reports and that kind of thing from that software of it rates the different conditions of the, from best to worst, or gives it a rating of a score or something like that. So we can go back in and we can implement this into this 5-year plan that we have to help us, instead of having, it's basically less subjective than having
Yes.
one of our guys go out there and, hey, take a look at this street, and I'm going to argue, no, my street's worse than his street, come pave mine. This says, hey, listen, this is the fact right here. And it takes basically the subjectivity out of it and makes it a fairly objective decision on rating how bad these streets are.
Yes, exactly. So it's what we call a data-driven approach, because as good as this person driving it, and making a judgment call might be and how experienced they are, there's no way they're actually, determining how long those cracks are, how many cracks. They just can't see that with the naked eye. So this technology is able to obtain all of that data from the roadways, and yes, exactly. Yeah. Take some of that burden off of you to defend it, because it's the numbers are the numbers, right? Yeah. So yes, it has that objectivity, yes.
So like you said, it's data-driven. I love that term,
Yes.
data-driven, by the way. But just to be clear, we're not buying anything, we're buying a service. We're not buying a van or a truck or anything. We're buying the service, and this is a one-time evaluation that they do, or is it just for 1 year?
I can speak to that. So, I've used softwares like this in my past lives. Typically, what you'll do is we'll drive the entire system this year, and then there'll be like we'll keep the software going forward. There's subscription fees and maintenance fees with the software. So next year, whenever we asphalt WHB Road, we go in there and we said, hey, we just upgraded WHB Road. It recalculates the PCI. Typically, what I see in the industry is we reevaluate, drive the entire system like every 3 years. So there will be that. I think that it was like the item was like $68,000 to drive the component. So there will be an every 3-year charge for driving the system, but there'll be an annual maintenance fee.
So let me ask you this. She talked about potential cost savings, and of course they're going to have some really good numbers that show. Those numbers are fantastic if they're true, and I'm not saying they're not. But from your perspective, you're not the vendor. Do you think that we will save in our cost for repairs, that kind of stuff, by doing it this way, more than what we would even spend on this software system, on this system?
Yeah, exactly, yes, because like you said, we'll be able to, we need to be proactive. We need to catch streets before they get to the point where we need complete reconstruction. And like I say, right now, we're just out there getting the worst of the worst. Yeah. And this way, if we spend a little bit of money preventing maintenance on the top end, then in the long run, we'll save money down the road.
I will say, I think probably everybody up here and just about every single person that runs for office runs on two things: public safety and roads and potholes, roads and bridges, that kind of stuff. So we've all done it. This is very important to all of us, not just because we want to get elected, but because that's what we're hearing from our community. Yep. We're hearing from the community, hey, fix these roads. A lot of them aren't ours, they belong to the cities, but the ones that do belong to us, I'm very happy with this proactive approach, and you pretty much had me at hello, because I'm very familiar with this. Irvine, California is one place that is on your list. It's my old stomping grounds. Irvine is one of the most beautiful, well-managed, planned out cities in the nation. And their roads are beautiful. So I'll just say I'm sold. Thanks.
Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you, and thanks for the presentation. So I like to think of myself as a data-driven guy myself, but I also understand the politics that comes with some of this. And fortunately for me, I won't have to deal with it because I'm going to be out of here at the end of the year. Not that I'm bragging, but at any rate, one of the things that's embedded in this, though, is the idea, and I think the 2 slides from the end, I think you put it very well, that it is somewhat counterintuitive that you spend more of your time and a good deal of your effort in the roads that have not gone catastrophic yet. That's smart with the money, that makes sure that in the long term you're not blowing a lot of money and therefore the savings that you achieve. However, if you're living on a street that is catastrophic and you're saying, hey, you went over there, county, and there's barely a crack in that road and you went and fixed it and you left me all alone, that's y'all's problem to then go deal with and explain. But my question then comes into the plan that gets generated from the work. I guess what I'm trying to understand is the full scope of things. I appreciated, Tom, you saying you're coming back in 3 years because a lot of things can happen in 3 years, and I agree with that totally. But as you're making a 5-year plan, I guess my question becomes, are you making a plan for all those miles of county roads, both those that need to be preserved and those that are catastrophic? If not, then is the plan to really go into that preventative mode as far as what you will be asking the commission to essentially pay for? I guess I'm trying to understand how you balance the preservation that you must do with what will come from those who are living on those streets that need to be totally rebuilt. And if you already have an answer, or if you want to have that answer in January, I will accept that as well.
Yeah, so, hopefully, this, like I said, we'll be proactive to get some of these streets, but we also need to kind of take bites out of the backlog at the same time. So we'll try to get the worst of the worst, get those up, maybe get a little more, maybe we can convince you guys to give us a little more money to do the backlog plus preventative maintenance. We'll find that out once we get this implemented, but, yeah, I mean, as far as, the 5-year plan, we can't touch every street in the county in a 5-year plan. So the spreadsheet she showed, it may project out to something beyond the 5-year plan that we don't publish as a list. So
yeah,
we'll know, and then we'll revisit that every 3 years to see if that's modified. So like I say, we'll just kind of address the next 5 years, the next couple of years actually, with our implementation plan.
Gotcha. Well, I appreciate the technology and what you're bringing to the table. I think that's reflective of everybody here. Good information allows you to make good decisions. So I appreciate that.
And also, just to piggyback to that, Commissioner, another thing too is like when we look at certain projects too, we know those are probably more apt to be grant-funded projects, or try to use BRO or other funds that we may in order to help with those as well. So the thing about this is now we can plan towards that. So now if we see something coming down the line, we say, well, we have this street here that we know, because when you start looking at those projects, you also have to look at what type of infrastructure you have there, what you're bringing, who you're providing services to as far as who's on that street. Right. And so we can plan for that earlier than to just wait and try to do project by project, and then we figure out, okay, we should have put our money somewhere, another location. So
the
hope is to get a whole picture now.
Yeah, and it sounds like that becomes Cynthia's problem.
Yeah, partially. She will help out with that.
Very good. All right, I appreciate the answers.
If I could add, another thing is it doesn't have to be a complete switch to, this proactive way either. Pavement management systems are incredibly flexible to, the needs that you have. So if you're saying, oh, well, we have to do this reconstruction project because it's received 1 billion complaints forever, you can force that in if you know about them. Or sometimes if we know about it, or if you're agreeable, we can even break the budget into like 2 and say, okay, this has to be for reconstruction, this can be for preventive maintenance. So there's ways that we can work with that if we just know kind of how you want to go about it.
Yeah, well, and it also strikes me, would that also tell us, based on what you find, traffic counts and so on, what needs to be elevated? So if I should go from a chip and seal up to an asphalt as well?
When you say elevate, like it is currently a chip seal and you would like to maybe do something heavier?
Does it for maintenance reasons, traffic reasons, whatever the case, would you have a recommendation in there that suggests that it needs to just be, it is better for that road to be at a higher type of level, if you will?
Yeah, so that's really the purpose of establishing the condition of all the roads, right? So you can see exactly what the score is, and that generally tells us how heavy of a treatment it needs. So if we're looking at a chip seal and we're seeing a lot of cracking that appears structural, we might say, okay, this is probably due for a really thick overlay or perhaps a reconstruction. Yes, just depending on the condition we found on that surface.
Yeah, because it occurs to me that our discussion has assumed that whatever it is today is what it needs to be, only you just need to fix it. But I guess I would introduce the idea that, well, it may mean you need to turn it, you may need to go to the next level, whatever that next level is from what you're dealing with. So, okay, great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And I might add to that too, is, the longer we have the software and the more ratings we'll get, we'll be able to get performance curves on, a particular segment, because WHP Road is going to perform different than Salem Road. So once we get, the more data we get over time, we can actually predict a little better how it's going to perform in the future.
Sure. Thank you.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Thanks. Thank you. So I got a couple questions, but first let me just say absolutely love this, as I think a lot of the commission does. Staying on top of, taking advantage of the best tools available, I think makes a tremendous amount of sense. Obviously, technologically, we've come a long way to be able to collect vast amounts of data and process it and optimize efficient outcomes around it better than we've ever been able to do before. And so we probably ought to do that for one of our most expensive things, which is maintaining our roads and bridges, because there's a lot of money potentially to be saved through that process and efficiency to be gained. So love it. You mentioned some Department of Transportation, some DOTs. Is that are those statewide projects that y'all did?
Yes, we work with several different DOTs, some of them on a yearly, some every so often, but yes, we have several DOT contracts.
Okay, good deal. Well, those, I assume, were big projects, so.
Yes, very big.
And so the assertion that money can be saved by treating sooner rather than waiting until things are in greater disrepair and then having to do a full rebuild. Certainly intuitively makes sense to me. Do you all, through your work, have a lot of demonstrable, sort of empirical evidence that shows that has happened for your clients?
Yes, yeah, I'd say kind of just seeing it through some of the networks that I've seen personally that are in that 70, 80 range. To put it into perspective, closer to 100, the better. Those are the ones where they have this established pavement management program where they are doing preventive maintenance. So yes, I would say definitely have seen evidence of this. And the ones that typically fall below 50 on average, they're typically doing the worst first approach, which we call it, where they just throw reconstruction projects out, as people complain, which I completely understand how that happens. But, from an optimization standpoint, the ones that are doing the preventive maintenance typically have higher overall scores.
Okay, good. Well, and it makes sense to me too that, maybe at first there would be some of the concern, but hopefully over time it would improve the dynamic so much that we would have fewer people on roads that were in complete disrepair, because if we stayed proactive enough and better utilized our resources. But nevertheless, certainly at first at least would be a concern for sure. Well, I think it's great, and I absolutely love it. So mostly I just want to thank you for the presentation, but I mostly want to thank Tom, County Administrator, for taking us to, like Commissioner Withington said, taking us, to the frontier of pavement management and being as efficient as we can about that, because it's going to keep being a huge chunk of the budget for forever, right? So if we can get more bang for the buck in the next decade, rather than being inefficient with it, I think that'll be good for the taxpayers, and it'll be good for having, more road coverage. We're never going to be perfect, so it's just a matter of doing a little better versus not doing a little better, and I think we should. So thank you to the team. Thanks.
I was going to ask a question, but I think Commissioner Johnson had a follow-up. Would you like to go ahead and do that right now?
Yes.
Very good. You're recognized.
And this is just for Tom. Tom, you'd mentioned, this is about the 5-year plan that I know we're going to talk about this later, but you just mentioned that we can't even touch all of our streets in 5 years. Do you have an estimate of how many years it would take if we were to touch all our streets?
Well, I really don't. What I'll show you in the presentation is in the last 3 years of the 5-year plan, we've touched about 47%, okay?
Okay.
So thinking, okay, we can do it in 6 years, but some of those ones we did in 2024, the chip seal streets will need to be redone in that same timeline. So some of those streets will be duplicated. Life cycles of asphalt's 15, 20 years, but there's a lot of preventive maintenance that we can do to keep them up. So, yeah, I can't tell you how.
No, you answered my question now. Just knowing in the 3 years, we did, what, 47%?
Somewhere around there,
That
yeah.
explains it. I know we're going to talk more about it later, so that
Yep.
explains it. I will say, just tagging on to Commissioner Carpenter, I think the biggest way taxpayers see their money at work, their tax dollars at work, is through the streets. That's the number one thing they look at, is at their streets, to see if their tax dollars are working for them. So I'm ready to make a motion whenever you are, but I think you said you wanted to speak first.
Yeah, I did want to make a couple of points, then I'll go to you unless someone else wants to chime in. But even after you've made the motion, obviously other commissioners can comment. I was really, the advantage of going last is that everybody asks the good questions. And Commissioner Carpenter was asking one of the ones that I had, and that was the history, of how this has in fact worked in other places, because that's something else we need to look at. And it sounds as though you answered pretty much what the commissioner was asking. I guess I would follow up with that and say that, as we all know, we are a really quick growing county. We've got a lot of population increases, and the stress on our roads is increasing. So I guess my question is the data we get, how can we use that as we see some of our roads being used more and more by other traffic as the developments come in? Does it help us in projecting? So if we've got the information on a particular strip of roadway, but there may be a subdivision coming in and traffic may be increasing, how is that going to be used to make sure that we take that into account, so it's not just a snapshot, but we're able to use that as a projection of use kind of tool?
Yeah. As far as traffic, internally we do traffic counts every week. We have 5 or 6 traffic counters, and right now they're kind of proactive or reactively being put where we get complaints. Let's go get, someone says this road is worse than this road, so we go get counts on both roads and see what the counts are. But we can certainly get the counts on the entire system and then target those higher volume streets. If there's, those are the ones we need to make sure are at the 70 or 80 level, based on traffic counts and volumes. And then as new developments come in, usually we ask those developers if they're large enough to do a traffic study where they take our existing background data, the projected data, and then see what impact that has. What I've seen in the county, though, is a lot of the streets, our county roads are not really high volume streets like they are in different parts of like Kansas City or Blue Springs. I mean, some of those roads are, Adams Dairy Parkway is 12,000. I did a count on Mount Olivet, it was 1,400 a day. So our streets are still kind of low volume streets, but there certainly is an impact with traffic. But I intend to find out what those volumes are on all of our roads.
Right, and when we experience higher volume on some of our county roads, it's going to be, first off, it would be predictable because we can see what the growth of the county is like in the rooftops essentially. But that gives us the opportunity to start monitoring them more closely, because obviously more miles being driven on them equals more wear and tear.
Exactly, yep.
The other thing I was kind of wondering about, because not being a particular software technical kind of guy, this is all rather gee whiz, this is so cool kind of to me, but how advancing is this technology? How has this advanced, say, over the past 3 years? And how do you see us being able to, assuming that we go forward with this and have subsequent uses, what kind of additional data have you been able to provide as opposed to some years ago, and where do you project this technology going?
I wish I could see the future, but I can give you just kind of a general idea. This laser crack measurement system technology, it was developed and adopted here in the U.S. really around 2021, 2022. So it's been pretty established since then. A lot of agencies use it, and we were one of the first vendors to really use that technology here in the U.S. Before that, there was what was called like a Ramble system. It had, instead of like a line of lasers, like point lasers. So it changed the amount of distresses that you would capture, right? It just changes kind of the perspective that you're seeing. In the future, there's talks about maybe using LiDAR, if you're familiar with that. Right now, it would cause a lot of headaches because it's just a lot of data with that, but we're kind of inching towards that being the next thing. But all this to say, the technology is changing. The way that we look at it is changing. A lot of different vendors will use AI, and we've entertained the idea, but we'll definitely still QC with people because it's not foolproof. That's definitely coming in the future as well. But the good thing about these standards are, like I mentioned, the ASTM D6433, it tells you exactly how to quantify everything on the surface. That part doesn't change. So all of the data, or the technology to acquire the data, that's always going to change. That's not something I myself can control. But these standards are going to remain consistent throughout. So they have they specify exactly how to capture all that information, how to quantify it, how to calculate that condition score.
Well, I also like the idea that we're talking about something that has, whether it's a numerical value attached or however that measurement is communicated, it gives us the advantage, the ability to say objectively, this is not just, oh man, some guy's standing there looking down and saying, this looks pretty bad to me.
Yes.
This gives us a very precise idea of how to plug that number in and then calculate with other factors, traffic flow, that kind of a thing, as far as how we prioritize. And it kind of it doesn't take the human factor out, but it makes it more easily explainable, I think, to people in the public who want to know why we're doing one road and not the other, to be able to say, this is where the science is taking us. Then the last question, to again follow up on Commissioner Carpenter's point, some of the communities, and I've seen obviously the paperwork here, but just for the people watching, can you tell us some of the communities here in the area that you have worked with and that have used this technology and have had positive and good experiences as we are anticipating having?
Yeah, a recent project was St. Louis County, Missouri. We did a complete network level assessment for them. That was a very big project that I was involved with. And forgive me, I live in Georgia, so I
can help you out.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
So what, on the RFP, on their proposal, there was a list of a pretty extensive list. I reached out to some of them that were local, the city of Leawood, Jackson County, and City of Independence. They had positive things to say.
That was what I was trying to elicit, because one of the things that crosses my mind is one of the things besides the flow of traffic that is impactful on roads is the weather. Water getting in, cracks freezing, expanding, all that kind of stuff. And so by learning, by doing what you did, which was reaching out to areas that are in the same area we are, cities in the same area we are talking with entities that are experiencing the same climate we're experiencing. And so that's another factor that would be common, and their positive experience reinforces the idea that our experience will then be, of course, similarly positive. That's kind of where I was going with that. With that, unless anyone else has any comments, I will go to Commissioner Johnson, but if I will ask again for comments before I recognize him to close. So Commissioner Johnson, you have the floor.
Move to approve 2026-211.
Motion has been made for the approval of 2026-211. Is there any discussion? I don't have any discussion, but before I go for close, I just want to say that I think that we had a very good discussion. We had awfully good questions. This is a serious subject, and that we're talking about one of the most expensive and well-used assets in this county. So with that, Commissioner, I will go to you for close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. The second and final issue on our regular agenda is 2026-2010. Mr. Administrator?
Yes,
Or,
20
excuse me, 210, not 2010.
No
I haven't got quite that many yet.
2026-210, approval of invoice payments for Clay County Prosecutor's Office for the period of July 25th through July 31st of 2026. We had a total of 4 invoices totaling $1,310.29.
Commissioner Johnson.
Move to approve 2026-210.
Motion has been made for the approval of 2026-210. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. That brings us to discussion items. We have 2 items. One that I'm quite looking forward to is Parks and Naturalists presentation. Mr. Administrator, if you'd like to introduce that, we will go
Yes.
to.
We have 2 discussion items this week. Parks and Naturalists presentation with our Parks Department. We have John Davis, our Parks Director, to lead that presentation.
Please proceed.
Each year, we've brought on naturalists to promote parks, campgrounds, do various conservation, natural resources projects, speak at schools, daycares, libraries, retirement facilities, and do presentations in the campgrounds. This year is no exception. We have 5 of our naturalists up here tonight, and as we did last year, we're wanting them to learn the government experience and give you a presentation of what they've done this summer. So I'll start off introducing all of our naturalists this year. We have Rachel Barak, who's a K junior at the University of Kansas. We have Logan Reynolds, who's a junior at the Friends University. We have Brett Claypole, who's returned from last year. He's a senior at South Dakota State University. We have Keaton Schneeflock, who's a senior at Missouri Western State University. We have Kai Stryker, who was a intern with us earlier this year from Staley High School, and he is a beginning freshman at University of Northern Colorado. And then we also had Dea Keithley, who's a graduate of Missouri Western State University, and she's not able to come tonight, but she did have some projects and we'll share. So first off, Rachel Barak is going to come up and speak about her projects and her experiences over summer.
Hello, I'm Rachel Barak. As stated, I go to KU. My major is ecology, evolution, and organismal biology, and I'm also pursuing a certificate in museum studies. So with all of that, this internship has been great for experience. I have learned a lot. Foremost is I really enjoyed it because I love talking to people about my passion, which is wildlife biology, and I love teaching other people about it and getting them excited about it. Also, this job has taught me a lot, whether it be certain things like invasive species removal or identification of different animals or birds, but also a lot about the native species around here and the conservation efforts with them. So usually I'm more into of the exotic animals. It wasn't until this internship that I started learning more about these and doing a lot more research, and it has it's been very interesting, and I've loved learning more about Missouri through the natural world. So my project was to restore a goldfish pond. So in the past, I've had some experience with ponds, but never quite like this. So in the beginning, when I first saw it, it was covered in algae. There was a lot of dirt buildup and mud, and I was surprised to see that there were still fish swimming around in there. But with that, so I took the goldfish out of there, and then I took the lining out, replaced that, and then after that I put rocks in, filled it back up with water, and I put, as you can see, a couple different plants in there. So we have duckweed, and then we have the water lilies, and just different plants like that. And to the side, you can't really see, is golden pothos. But these plants, they help clean the water, but also provide shelter for the fish. And we didn't have any electricity over there, so it's really up to these plants to help clean that water. But also, there is a small pump in there. It is solar powered, and so the water goes through the pump, and then it kind of sprays out as a little fountain, so it's good for aesthetics as well. And That is all. Thank you.
By the way, I just want to say that two of my grandsons are out of town with their parents right now on vacation, and the job has fallen to my wife and myself to take care of the goldfish that they have.
Oh, awesome.
We're down to 3.
Oh, okay.
I may call on you for some professional guidance, and
Yes.
I don't want to be in the position where we buy new goldfish, put them in there, and they say, how did the goldfish get so much bigger in just a week? But I do admire what you do, and it's the natural habitat that you're reestablishing, that you're enhancing, is quite an impressive thing, like I say, from my own rather unpleasant experience for the goldfish we have. Any other questions of this lady? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Logan Reynolds. I am a student over at Friends University. I'm going for my double major, one in zoo science and then the other in conservation science. And then I have a minor in criminal justice. I got lucky with getting this internship. I was super excited. And this is my summer project. I got told about a trail that was somewhere out in Kelsey Shore, and you definitely could not tell where the trail was whenever I found it. It was about knee to chest height throughout the whole entire thing, and you couldn't find it. So I went through there, I mowed it all out, I cut down some logs, I moved them out, and now it's a mile-long trail. It's got 2 different really cool features. The photo on the far left, you can kind of see that big tree. That's an Osage orange tree. And that's all of our native grasslands out there. So this trail is actually kind of like it's a U. It's got 2 entrances and 1 exit. It's got kind of branches in between. But you can actually walk all the way around our native grassland viewing area, which is cool to be able to see the different life that lives out there. And then on that middle photo, that's actually a black walnut tree. And we have signs throughout this trail that actually help identify all the different things that you can see. And that's in the wooded side. So there's a wooded trail and a grassland trail, which is pretty awesome. And then far right, it's kind of hard to tell in the photo, but that's actually a learning center. So there's a bunch of benches out there, and there's actually a podium for us to be able to maybe start doing educational pieces out there, similar to like how we do with our libraries. And I think it would be a great opportunity. There's also 2 bridges. They're not photoed in any of those, but it's a pretty cool little trail that just kind of got uncovered. Another thing, besides the trail, we do a lot of presentations. That's about probably my favorite piece of this job. I've done presentations in front of over 1,000 people, around 1,000, which is pretty nerve-wracking, but there's nothing as scary as 20 little children staring at you. Their opinions are really strong. It's really terrifying. So I learned how to present in front of little kids, which has kind of helped me present in front of older people. You'd think it would be the other way around. Nope, doesn't work that way. But it's awesome being able to spark that interest in wildlife like how I had. But yeah, that's all I got.
Thank you very much. Did anybody have any questions or comments? Thank you.
Hello again. I'm one of the returners. I'm Brett. I am doing double major in agronomy, which is crop science, as well as environmental science and ecology. The project that I decided to do this summer is a insect collection box. So while this is not the most diverse insect collection box where I have a lot more I need to pin, but they were not quite ready before this time, I have at the top here all of our Lepidopteras, which are our moths and our butterflies. The second row, I have all life cycles of a cicada, so going from nymph into an adult stage. I also have flies below that, so all of our dipteras. And then at the bottom, I have 1 Coleoptera, which is our beetles, and I do have a couple more I need to pin, though they were still frozen. So with this job, or this internship, it's very impactful to me. It has helped me come out of my shell a lot more. Being able to present in front of people has kind of freed me from my own inner struggles, where I feel like I can talk in front of people a lot better. So looking back at last year, I probably came up here, was speaking very quickly, but I feel a lot more confident now. And being able to share my appreciation of nature with people has been life-changing. Being able to be that person that inspired me as a child to go into this field of study, going into nature, has encouraged me a lot. And I really hope that people seeing me do this job, maybe 10, 12 years down the line, will eventually see this internship available and will try to join this as well. But that's all I have.
Thank you.
My name is Keaton Sneeflock. I'm going to be a senior at Missouri Western State University studying wildlife conservation and management. My main passion, as long as I can remember, has just been learning about wildlife and ecosystems and different species of animal. That's what I care about, mostly birds and reptiles, but really anything. And a lot of what we do at Smithville Lake is we do education and outreach programs where we talk to the general public about different species of animal, different ecosystems, and we just tell them about all we know, really. And before doing this internship, I've always been kind of a quiet person, so I was like, I don't know that I will really enjoy education, but I have found that I really do enjoy it, and it's a lot of fun, especially talking to people about the stuff that I care about, wildlife and animals, and getting to see kids and really anybody actually care about this kind of stuff too, and hopefully develop a passion that I have. We have a lot of live reptiles that we keep at our nature center, and most of the time we will bring our live animals out for the general public to see if the program happens to be about reptiles or something like that. We only keep reptiles at the moment. But I think bringing live animals is a really good educational tool. Seeing a real species in person, I think can instill some passion more so than just seeing a picture in a book or hearing about it. And I did bring one of our animals today that I'm going to talk about. This is King. He is a three-toed box turtle. This is the state reptile of the state of Missouri. They're called the three-toed box turtle because they have 3 toes only on their hind legs. They have 5 toes on their front legs. Box turtles are really weird when it comes to turtles because they don't live in the water. They live on the land. They are terrestrial. That means they fully are adapted to living on the land. They don't really swim in the water. They don't have webbed feet. So if they are in the water, they'll just kind of bob on the surface. They won't usually drown unless there's rapids, but they are adapted to living fully on the land. Box turtles get their name box turtle because on the bottom of their shell, the bottom part of the shell is called the plastron. The top is called the carapace. On the plastron, the front and the back piece act as a hinge, so they can actually move both of those pieces up and down, and they can completely enclose all of their limbs and their head inside of the shell and move those pieces up and close themselves in like a box. So that's where they get the name box turtle from. That hinge is so powerful, it's like super glue. There are no predators in the state of Missouri that can pry that open. It's very, very strong. Another cool thing about box turtles is they have what we call a home range, which is just the space that they live in. It's like their house. And so they know where everything is. They know where all the berry bushes are. They know when the mushrooms are going to come out of the ground. They know how to find stuff. And so it's really important that when we find box turtles, we just kind of leave them and let them do their thing because they know what they're doing better than we do. And the only reason you would ever want to move a box turtle is if it's crossing the road out in front of you. You're supposed to, if it's safe, move it in the direction that it's going. But we never want to take animals away from their natural habitat, especially box turtles. If we take them somewhere else, they might get lost and they're not going to know where they are, and they probably, unfortunately, will not survive. So it's really important that we keep animals wild. Box turtles are really important because they eat insects, they disperse seeds of various native plants. So they're really cool animals. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
I got a question for you real quick before you run away.
Okay.
Over here. The box turtle's range, how big is that range?
It's 5 to 15 acres. So for males, it's usually more, and females, it's less. The males have to kind of find females. The females just kind of stay in their place, but males usually have the larger home range.
Do you know if it's the same for those snapping turtles?
So most turtles have a home range. Snapping turtles will move between different bodies of water. It's much larger than a box turtle. I mentioned the box turtle home range because it's very small compared to other turtles that have much larger home ranges. And snapping turtles are aquatic, so they'll move between different ponds and stuff like that. So they have a much larger home range. But yes, they do.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. I see no other questions. Thank you. Very informative.
Good afternoon. My name is Kai Strickers, and I am a part-time seasonal with Clay County Parks and Rec. My association with Clay County Parks and Rec began in the second semester of my senior year, where I took part in an internship program through North Kansas City High School District at Staley High School, in which first semester we would learn about the professional environment and how to deal with conflicts in the professional environment. And then our second semester we were placed into our internships based on our interests. So in my future life, I'm going to the University of Northern Colorado to study environmental policy law and management. And so I asked to be placed with the game wardens or some sort of agency that helps with environmental law and protection. I was placed with Clay County Parks and Rec, and honestly, I couldn't have been more fortunate to have been so. They've been great people so far, and I have nothing but good words to say about them and their department. But most of the work that I did during my internship at school was revolved around maintenance around the lake. So whether that would be maintaining saplings around trails and around viewpoints to maintain pristine views for the visitors that come to our lake and walk our shorelines. We also did a lot of animal husbandry. So at the time we had 14 animals. We unfortunately lost our salamander, Art. He was a tiger salamander. But through animal husbandry, I learned not only how to properly take care of animals by watering them, feeding them, maintaining their cages proper conditions, whether that be humidity, hydration, or anything else that they would need, but I also learned about the animals specifically through that. So eventually, me learning about the animals with husbandry led to me tagging along with the full-time presentations, in which I would usually share about one animal, typically Bruce, who I'll talk about in a second, or our blue-tongue skink called Marinara. Eventually, my summertime internship did lead to a job, and I was fortunate enough to accept the offer. The hardest thing about the transition from the internship to a part-time position with Clay County was the frequency in which we did our presentation. So originally, I would maybe tag along once every 3 weeks and do a short little 5-minute speech, but when I became an employee with Clay County, I began doing longer presentations. And through repetition and rapidity, I eventually became more comfortable talking about the animals and gave more content out as we progressed throughout the season, and I learned more. That is enough about me, though. I am going to talk about this guy here. His name is Bruce, and he is a Plains hognose snake. So he's got the name Plains hognose because of where he likes to inhabit. So he really likes to inhabit the plains biomes, but he also has a pushed up nose that has a specialized scale on it that allows him to dig through the loose soil in our plains biomes. Yeah, you can hold it, you can touch it after our presentation. Yeah, well, I should say first, this guy is actually venomous. But his venom is specialized for amphibians, so
What he does is he has rear-facing fangs, so that means they're kind of inside of his throat, so you'd have to stick your finger inside of his mouth to actually be injected with venom. So that's why I'm able to hold him like this and handle him. But that venom, what it does when it's introduced to amphibians is it will make them swell up like a balloon, and then he'll come back and pop them. So he gets the nickname in the wild, the toad popper. So he's really important for maintaining amphibian populations as well. But he used to live in Missouri. He is an extricated species, which means that he's no longer present in Missouri, but he is still present in Kansas. The reason for that is habitat loss. Missouri used to be something like 30% plains. Now it's 0.03. So he just doesn't have enough habitat for him to have a stable population and a breeding population in the state. But another cool fact about this guy is that he's the only known snake in the world to play dead when it's threatened by predators. So on his underbelly, he's got a nice orange and black patterning. And this is kind of mocking decaying or rotting flesh. He'll also excrete a pheromone that's called musk. All snakes have it. All snakes use it. I'm sure if you've picked up a garter snake, you've been musked before. But what that does is it helps to increase the sensory input that the predator is feeling. And generally in the wild, if an animal just up and dies right in front of you, it's not a good sign to eat it. They could have been poisoned. They could have had some disease, but it's just generally they avoid it. He also is considered to be a really cute animal. I was talking to someone earlier about this, and they said that one of their friends has a tattoo of him and their favorite. That's because when they play dead, they'll stick out their tongues and really throw out the act. But furthermore, when you flip them over, because we know they're obviously playing, they'll flip themselves back over and insist upon being dead, which is a very interesting fact about these guys. Also, unlike possums or the more commonly known fainting goats, it is not a thing it is a thing that they control, and it's not a reflex. So possums and fainting goats, if they're ever scared or they have a sudden rush of adrenaline to their brain, they'll physically faint and they have no choice about it. But Bruce here, he chooses to act. That's all I have for you.
That's interesting. It's funny because having been in Boy Scouts like many have, I looked at the configuration of Bruce in there and I thought, that looks like a venomous snake to me.
Yeah.
And then I saw you open up the case and put your hand in, I'm thinking, oh my.
Yeah. So in Missouri, we actually have some cool rules about our venomous species. The snake sheds, for instance, if past the cloaca, which is where its breeding organs and defecation parts, pardon my French, and then past that point, if it splits into two sections of scale, it is a venomous species, and if it's one singular section, it's a non-venomous. That's a pretty cool area fact for Missouri.
Interesting. Well, it wouldn't have been a presentation without a snake somewhere in the mix. We always have a snake, so I was glad to see you made that, you checked that box for us.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah. You can get a closer look if you like. Thank you for your time.
Always a fun time with snakes. Dea Keithley could not be here tonight, but she did start a Draw with a Naturalist program. Her drawings are of the birds over here on my left, and these are other drawings that are some of the students or people that were in the class. They did do a group project. I had a request from one of the Park Advisory Board members, Dr. Scott Darling, inquiring about the northern bobwhite quail population around Smithville Lake. And they did a nice presentation on it. Basically, they get out early in the morning hours and whistle to see if any male quail would respond. They didn't hear any, so they came back with 0, but that's possibly because it's the breeding season and they're not responding, so they plan on doing another one in a few months. Other projects they've done shoreline clearing. They've transplanted trees from our nursery to our campgrounds, which is this picture here. They've done Russian autumn olive tree removal, which are invasive species throughout the area. They started an owl pellet dissection program where a bunch of kids came in and dissected owl pellets. and they've also formed a new bat presentation program. On top of that, they've continued the educational outreach programs. They've been to 8 schools, 23 libraries, 3 senior living facilities, presented to 10 field trip programs, and then 25 campground programs at Smithville Lake. And I also want to mention that they are supervised by Natural Resources Supervisor Aaron K. Gay, who's here tonight. There's also 2 other full-time naturalists, Xavier Hammond, who's not here tonight. He's actually at a presentation elsewhere, and then Carlos Martinez, who's also with the naturalists. Anybody have any further questions?
I just want to say that I'm extremely impressed with how articulate and how intelligent these young people are. I'm very impressed, and I'm always impressed when these folks come in to speak, because they are all very, very impressive. And just for what it's worth, the one comment was made about how terrifying it is to be in front of little children. Having been a teacher, certainly kindergarten and pre-K are top of the tree as far as being terrifying goes. With that, Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you, and thank you, John. And I just wanted to say how important it is, the work that all of you are doing. And I say that partially because of the work that I do in my day job, where we work with a number of wildlands in Clay and Jackson counties and Johnson counties. And I'm also reminded of what happened on Tuesday with the renewal of the tax that helps our Department of Conservation here in Missouri. And all of that suggests that it is no accident that we are able to do the work, whether it is with wildlife or in wildlands, that even when we think about how do you make sure that goldfish can live in a pond, it takes some effort to make that happen. It just does not happen by accident. I'll also say, though, had I known cicadas were needed for a presentation, I would have done everything I could to get them out of my yard. But at any rate, that's a whole other matter. But finally, I just want to throw out there that a lot of folks, because they don't realize the work that's necessary, they forget that there are jobs out there, whether it is with the Department of Conservation or Clay County or in parks departments all over this metropolitan area. So I do want to encourage all of you as you go into your years of college and you pursue your degrees, that whether it is with this county or any other municipality in this area, that you consider coming back to good old KC, because we need good people who know the needs that we have here. And again, I thank you for spending your time with us. It's been great. And like you, Jerry, I knew there would be a snake somewhere, because there always is. But we don't care about venom, because they say in politics you're already dealing with a nest of vipers as it is, so we were going to be okay.
Just couldn't resist that one, could you? Commissioner Carpenter, you are recognized.
Thank you. I just want to say thanks to John, but also for y'all for participating in the internship. I was really glad to hear, especially from the couple of you who really, got a lot of takeaway from the public speaking aspect of it and the confidence that built around it. I just love to see the passion of any kind for people, young people especially, but especially on this issue. Just think it's a tremendously valuable thing to be putting your life's effort and focus and study into. I am a big believer in if you want to understand why everything is the way it is, you ought to look to the natural world and do a lot of deep thinking and contemplating about how we've arrived here at this moment, here and now, and all the beautiful things that have grown forth. Goldfish, cicadas, turtles, snakes, all the rest, human beings. We grew here too. I just think it's just about the most important thing to be doing, especially as the world keeps on going. I said it before, but we, continue to spend more and more of our lives in sort of abstracted away environments that have taken us out of nature and put us into technological or digital environments. And I think it is tremendously useful for everybody to spend a little more time engaging with the natural world. One of my favorite quotes is from one of our smartest humans who ever lived, which was Albert Einstein. He said, "Look deep into nature, and then you will understand everything better." And he means that literally, and I hope everybody will do some thinking on that. But to y'all, thank you for your passion on this. I think it's incredible. Thanks.
Commissioner Johnson. Oh, did you go off? Sorry. There we go.
Yes, that was deep, Commissioner. I like that. Good words. I just want to say thank you. Those presentations were great. I will tell you, my wife often sits at home and listens to these meetings. And tonight, she blew up my phone with some texts. For the first time, she's actually interested and found us meeting entertaining. And this is in almost 4 years of this. So thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Are you saying we're not as interesting as box turtles? Very well. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none. Thank you very much for the presentation.
They are going to stick around till the end of the meeting, so if you want pictures and all that, welcome.
I think I will.
We will have a picture of Damon and the snake.
Oh, I'll pay for you to watch some of this stuff. That brings us to our next discussion item. Mr. Administrator, if you'd like to introduce that one.
Yes, our next discussion item is update our 5-year road program. This was requested by Commissioner Withington a couple of meetings ago, and we have Tom Degenhardt, our Road and Bridge Director, to give us that update. And it kind of worked out really well as far as the paving indexing that we're going to be doing with the other one, and now this update here.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Tom Degenhardt, Road and Bridge Director. And yes, thank you for the previous presentation. I really look forward to working with them and getting our roads in better condition. So the original 5-year plan was presented at the December 2023 budget, road and bridge budget hearing for the 2024 fiscal year. It was actually a 6-year plan. It had programmed 2024 through 2029, so there were 6 years in that program. Some of the highlights included the funding, future funding, cost per lane mile projected, lane miles preserved, and a list that was published on the website with the 5-year, what our plan was. That list did not include our gravel, or we have a 1 concrete street, so it did not include that. Funding. So this presentation doesn't have any pictures, not nearly exciting as the last two. So you can see the projected funding is what was presented at the budget hearing. The budget line column is actually what was funded, so there's 3 years of data there. The actual is what we actually spent, and then the delta is an overrun or underrun. Fortunately, asphalt, microsurfacing, and chip seal are one pot of money, so we can kind of move those as long as we don't overspend the entire budget for those 3 items. So I will note that 2026, you see a pretty big jump in the delta. And I know I brought up WHB Road earlier, but WHB Road was programmed in 2025 for microsurfacing. And I know some of you guys probably got calls on that, the condition of that road. There was no way that did that. So we pulled it from 2025 and added it to 2026 asphalt, which raised the price. Plus, Grant Hills was also, I think I presented that earlier, where it hadn't been touched in 30 years. So we added that. So there is a little bit of flexibility in this 5-year list. The microsurfacing, so sometimes we rob from that banks to fund asphalt. So some of the roads were set for microsurfacing actually became asphalt. One of my philosophies on this 5-year list is it's published out there. Sometimes I move things back for a reason to make it a better quality, such as WHB Road. Sometimes there's, we don't fully 100% program what we're budgeted, so sometimes I can move things forward. So that's why you see a little differences in what was actually funded and what was actually constructed. Chip seal, same situation, 3 years of funding there. Cost per lane, this gets kind of interesting, 2024 through 2026. And there's a couple different scenarios. The 2-inch number is what we do on existing asphalted streets. So if it's asphalt today, it gets 2 inches of asphalt. Some of the neighborhoods have curb and sidewalk. So if there's curb, we mill that and overlay with 2. 3 inches where we convert a chip seal street to asphalt. That's a little more expensive because there's 3 inches of asphalt. The unit prices, you can see, the 2024, we typically have been piggybacking other contracts, although this coming year, I plan on bidding this ourselves. The 2024 is Platte County, and it actually went down a dime in 2025 because we ended up using Jackson County's bids. 2026, it went up a little bit. Not major changes, about 5% overall. I will say that these are bid prices and there's a asphalt index. So at the time they bid it, there's an asphalt index. And then as liquid petroleum goes up, we catch an additional fee on top of that. So this year, towards the end of the project, it added like another $2.72 just because of the price of asphalt going up because of what's going on in the world right now. So microsurfacing, it's gone up about 3% over the last couple of years. We also piggyback Platte counties from microsurfacing. I think going forward, I know that, I kind of inherited the 6-year list from my predecessor. I wasn't too impressed with what we did in microsurfacing this year. I think going forward, I'm going to try to stay out of neighborhoods with microsurfacing and mainly focus on the long runs like Platte County or Plattsburgh Road, Cameron Road, the longer runs versus neighborhoods. I think it's a better fit for that. So there's going to be a little tweaks going forward on our list. Chip seal, it's had a little bit of increase. Chip seal, it's our contract. Chip seal's going on right now. Asphalt's done for this year. Micro's done for this year. Chip seal just started this week. Leading up to chip seal, we reclaim in-house. So we go through and we turn the road back to gravel with our new reclaimer we got with this year's budget. We reclaim it. We let it sit for a month or two so it gets compacted in. So a lot of times you guys might get called, hey, when's my street going to be finished? But we try to put signs up to let people know that we haven't forgot about you. We're just waiting for it to get a better product. So that's the cost per lane mile. This shows how many projected lane miles was in the 5-year and what the actuals were. Pretty close. Like I say, sometimes there's tweaks, sometimes there's removal, sometimes there's a change from micro to asphalt. So that's why you see a little bit of difference there. Earlier we talked about, someone brought up converting our chip seal streets to asphalt, so we're pretty proactive on that. 2024, they did about 14 miles. 2025, the entire asphalt budget for asphalt was conversions. The 22.6 miles was the 3-inch asphalt only. 2026, 17.64 miles. So we've converted a lot from chip seal to asphalt. Right now, we're sitting at about 52% asphalt of our system and about 40% asphalt, and about 40% is microsurfacing. And the way those are selected, those also are, we try to get corridors where like 188th Street may go for 3 or 4 miles across the county rather than just going in and doing small segments of streets. So that and traffic counts kind of determine where we get chip seal streets. Our biggest complaint on Road and Bridge is, hey, why did they get asphalt? We aren't chip seal streets, so we try to explain. And then also, in order to convert a chip seal street to asphalt, it's got to be in pretty good condition. We can't have any of those distresses we talked about earlier where there's fear that we're going to mess with the asphalt. So they've got to be in good shape. So typically we'll chip seal a street on our plan to asphalt it maybe 2 or 3 years down the road. So that's our plan for that. Brought this up earlier. This is a map that kind of shows our coverage of what we've done in the last 3 years. $13.5 million spent, 357 lane miles, which is about 46% of our system, and about 54 lane miles total converted. So with that, I hope I covered all what you guys want to see in the 5-year update, but I'm certainly available for questions.
Okay. Commissioner Lawson.
Well, the question I have is, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, honestly, I'm not. But the other day, y'all did my road, and you used the micro seal. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it was the people that did it or what. That thing is awful. It's already, in a month's time, it's washboarded, there's holes, it's terrible. So micro seal, somebody said this to me, and I don't know if it's right or not, but for a mile of chip and seal, it's $26,000 about. For a micro seal, it's $48,000 for a mile.
They're about the same. One of the confusions here, I hope I didn't botch a number on that, but usually I talk in centerline miles. Like going forward, I talk centerline miles. The 5 years presented in lane miles, so there might have been a confusion there. Let me just look and see here. No, so cost per lane mile for micro is this year was 27,456, and chip seal was
27 for what?
27,456 per lane mile for micro,
Oh, okay, 27, okay.
and then 23,936 for chip seal.
Yeah, and you know, here's the thing, I think, is my thought, for what it's worth, is that if we use the micro seal, and we know it's not got a long life, where you have chip and seal, who, you know, that seems like, I see chip and seal roads, they're beautiful, and they seem to last a long time. Why do the micro seal for 3 miles, you know, at the whatever, the 27 or whatever it is,
Right.
and its longevity is not there, then if we use the chip and seal, it's about the same, but it's going to last for a very, very long time.
Well, right-
You know,
right-
a much longer time.
Well,
Maybe
right
not.
now, chip seal, I mean, and it depends on the road itself.
Yeah.
Right now, I mean, like, we chip sealed Platte County Line Road last year. We're out there actively hogging that out and reconstructing a lot of that, and it'll need to be chip sealed next year. So some roads, and historically, that road's been 2 years. So what I've seen since I've been here is typically the chip seal streets last 3 to 5 years. Microsurface is not really, it's kind of a preventative measure. It's like Salem Road was at the point where it needed to be extended. We didn't have the money to asphalt it because it's a long run, so it would have been really expensive to asphalt that. So in the meantime, we put microsurfacing on there to give it another 3 or 5 years and then come back and readdress it in 3 or 5 years. It's kind of a preventative measure to seal the cracks and kind of keep it stabilized so we can come back and maybe mill and overlay it in the future. But I do agree. I know that I was really disappointed in this year's microsurfacing program. I know that Salem Road, they came back, because it's supposed to turn from brown to black, and it didn't really turn like it was supposed to, and there were some issues that we couldn't get ironed out. So they fog sealed it, which is why it turned black, and then, so, yeah, that's, going forward, I'm gonna be very selective where I use microsurfacing.
And you know, it might be the people that do it too. You know, I wish we had the staff. We've got the machines, I believe, but we don't have the staff to be able to do it ourselves.
We have the machines to do chip seal. So in
Well-
fact, we're getting ready to do 172nd Street in-house chip seal. So we're gonna
Good.
see, previously, years ago, we used to do all chip seal in-house, and then we went to contract, and now we're kind of gonna see if we can do a little bit of chip seal, kind of as a road that just unexpectedly blew up that we need to fix this year. So that's kind of, it's in reserve, but we're gonna try that again this year.
But when you look at the two, whether we use an outsider or we do it ourselves, if we had everything we needed to do it ourselves, would it be less expensive to do it in-house than it would be to hire somebody?
It would be really close, to be honest
Would
with
it?
you. Yeah, and right now, because I brought up, I'd like to 100% chip seal, but we really don't have the staff time. We wouldn't be able to do ditching and mowing and other things. You know, we've got like 16 operators right now, and the chip seal process is pretty much all hands on board. It takes at least a dozen of those guys. But you know, in the county, the chip seal streets are they're kind of quasi gravel. They're not really. They're kind of, we reclaim them, we put a thin on them. Like the DOTs, like up on C Highway, they put, and typically if the road is asphalt, we don't convert it to chip. We leave it asphalt. MoDOT sometimes put a different type of chip seal over their asphalt streets, which is what I'm kind of like, C Highway's that way. It's a haydite.
C or CC?
CC,
Oh.
CC, I'm sorry, CC.
On
So
CC?
CC Highway, if you go up there, it was chip seal with haydite versus a different aggregate than what we use. So I'm kind of exploring that. I'm checking with MoDOT to see if that's a possibility we can do that in the future, so.
Yeah. It's not, that's why I said CC, because I've driven it recently. It's not great, you know, not as I've been on it before and it was pretty good.
Really?
But
Okay.
it seems like it's not quite as, so they need to get their program in line. Just for the heck of it, how many miles do we have of still in this county of gravel?
About 8%. I've actually got that number here. I
Okay.
didn't write it down, but I've got picture of it on my phone here. I can actually tell you. Gravel streets, we have 61.5 lane miles, or 8% of our system.
61?
61 lane miles, so
Wow.
30 center line miles of gravel. And some of those gravel roads are in the bottoms and farm, and we will never probably convert those. We did convert a few gravel to chip seal in the last couple of years, but some of these roads they'll remain gravel for eternity probably.
Yeah,
Especially
there-
down in the old 210 lower areas in the floodplains.
Yeah, there was one off of 92 that you did a couple years ago that went from gravel to chip seal. It's beautiful,
Okay.
and it's well-used.
Right.
So, yeah, it'd be nice to see each year maybe a couple more that go from gravel to chip seal.
Yeah, and this year, we got that new reclaimer that was part of the budget, so we're hoping that, and it does a lot better job on the reclaiming process, so we're hoping we'll get a little more life out of our chip seal streets going forward with this new equipment we're getting and doing things a little differently.
Yeah. Well, I do appreciate you and your people. You make it very easy to work with you, and I can see that there's an effort to get more done and do it better.
Thank you.
So I do appreciate what you do.
Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. Thanks, Tom, and thanks to Commissioner Withington for requesting the presentation. My question is really more about timing related to the next round of asphalt, knowing that the price of petroleum currently is like a yo-yo, and who knows when that will end. So I guess my question is related to when you will bid out that work for the 2027 season.
Well, I mean, the price of asphalt isn't going to really depend on when we bid it. I mean, bidding it is going to determine how soon we can get in line, okay?
Yeah.
We bid it with the asphalt index. With the time of bidding, the asphalt index is like 51.
Mm-hmm.
But when they come, June and July, when they go to put it down, it's 60. So we pay the additional costs. It takes the risk out of, if a contractor, if we didn't do asphalt indexing, they would bid risk into their bid. If they bid this thing in February, and they said, fuel prices may be doubled, we're going to inflate our bid.
Right.
And then if it doesn't, then we're out of luck.
Right.
So if we use the indexing, they take the risk out of their bid, and we get the actual cost.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to reconcile that with the earlier comment of the, at least of what I understood of the kind of extra fee, and how that relates to timing when you're bidding. So I don't know if you could maybe help me with.
So you mean
that
back
piece.
when I brought up the $2.72, the $2?
Right.
So that was. Yeah, so that was the liquid asphalt, the asphalt index increase from when it was bid.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we'll typically bid contingency or not fully bid our budget, because we don't want to come back to you guys and say, hey, we need another $200,000. We just kind of anticipate the asphalt index going up, and that's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, well, and kind of the ultimate reason to ask is just, as you pointed out, over 2024 to 2026, some areas you have deltas, some of it because of how you're applying a certain substrate to a certain road. But just trying to get a sense of expectation as we move forward, knowing there's at least some question in the market, but if the indexing is there to remove the question, maybe it's not a big deal, but just wanted to ask that for kind of ongoing budgetary reasons.
Like I said, I think it's a good thing, because like I say, it takes the risk out of their early bids. So
Yeah.
they're not, the contractor isn't bidding risk, but we're subject to, we're picking up the bill for asphalt going out up the roof, so.
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? I see none. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes our discussion items. That brings us to reports. Mr. Administrator?
Yes, Captain, we have one report. Recorder of Deeds State Audit follow-up with our Auditor's Office, Victor Holbert.
Please proceed.
Thank you. Victor Holbert, Clay County Auditor. Let me get this pulled up here. So this tonight is the second in a series of 6 follow-up audits we're doing on the state audit, the petition state audit of Missouri. It's been since 2020 through 2022, that long since the state audit came out. So it's good to do, of course, as I've described before, those follow-up audits. Just wanted to show how to find these reports again. on the website. So you just go to the auditor's page and public can view these. And also wanted to bring up as well, we have a little handy dandy picture here, a tracker, just to show no surprises of what audits are going to be completed this year, the status that we're currently at. So we've finished the Recorder of Deeds ones. We have Recorder of Deeds follow-up audit. We have 2 other audits ongoing. The collector changeover audit, because we have a retirement, and we just launched a follow-up audit on the state audit of the public administrator. And then we have the sheriff later on for the rest of 2026. As we get into 2027, we'll be looking at a follow-up audit of the entire countywide state audit, the biggest part of the state audit. And I just bring this to your attention because, again, broadly, later in this fall, I would like to explore with the commission the idea of setting up an audit committee where we can develop a formal audit plan, get citizen input, commissioner input, and that way we have really develop a risk profile. What are the areas that we should be looking at as a county for the internal audit function? So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. We also have a recommendation status tracker. So digging in now for tonight, the Recorder of Deeds follow-up audit, and we have with us tonight as well the recorder, Sandy Brock, for any questions. Really appreciate her cooperation. You'll note that here in the letter, we have a new employee in the auditor's office whose sole focus is just on that internal audit function, performance auditing, looking for waste, fraud, and abuse, efficiency, effectiveness, things like that, rather than some of the other duties of this office. And so there's also an attachment in this report of the state audit at the end, so you can see the reference of what we're talking about. The state audit gave the recorder a rating of good in their assessment, but they essentially had one finding. And so that's what this audit follow-up is about. The finding was essentially the county has, in the very southern portion of Clay County along 210 Highway, 435, the Hunt Midwest caves, the subtropolis essentially. The Clay County has rented space there, approximately 3,725 square feet of rented storage space in those caves. The recorder is actually on the lease. They took out the lease in 2003, 23 years ago, with a former recorder, Bob Sevier. And what the state auditor observed, because they physically went on site and inspected, is that not all the uses of this space are for just recorder purposes. There were other offices that were using the space, and so they said the recorder is paying for this space out of their restricted recorder fund, the Recorder Preservation Fund, and so therefore this isn't a compliant use of that fund. And so they recommended that the recorder at the time document and verify that it is a compliant use. So in response to that finding from the state auditor, at the time, the recorder basically committed to, we will strike interdepartmental agreements with those offices to show that it will be used for record storage, microfilming, preservation, and all things necessary pertaining to that. So that was the finding at the time. That was the plan that was provided from the respondent, from the auditee. And so fast forward to today, we checked in on that status, and essentially what we observed, we looked at records, we again went on site as well. We observed that it is essentially the same condition, so to speak. There are still other offices using the space. You can see them outlined here. The prosecuting attorney has a lot of old case files that they have to keep indefinitely. They're on site. We walked in there and observed it with their permission. The circuit court, circuit clerk, and judicial information systems are really a combined function, along with, there are also public administrator files in there as well. But they have a few rooms. HR, county HR has employment-related files. Administration with facilities and old airport files are there as well. So bottom line, about 44% of the space is not really recorder per se related. And so that condition still exists. As far as the agreements, we noted that there was really only one agreement that had been enacted since the suggested action plan by the former recorder, and that was with just a JIS and the circuit clerk, and the agreement just says that the records we have are essentially record storage, and so therefore we believe they qualify under the recorder statute. That statute and the criteria, this is essentially what we measure the condition against, is from Chapter 59, and it says that the recorder fund can only be expended for record storage, microfilming, and preservation. So it's a little bit of a gray area as far as what is a record, right? Typically when we think of the recorder of deeds, we're thinking of titles and estates, but there can be an argument that you could record all sorts of documents. And so that was the essentially where we landed back then. So why haven't all the agreements been completed? I think we've had a lot of change in personnel, is the best I can assess. But I want to spend some time on the effect. So, who cares? What's the impact of this condition that we still have some use of non-recorder space, use of the recorder space by non-recorder offices? I would say it's not that great of an impact. We quantified that the dollar total, when we look from the time of the issuance of the report in 2020 to 2026, we spent about $175,000 with this underground storage provider, and 44% of that, or $75,000, has been for those other departments. If we take out the circuit clerk portion, it's more like $60,000. So $60,000 has been spent in this time period, not since 2003, but since the last state audit report on non-recorder purposes. Here's sort of the graphic of what that looks like. And of note, when we had shared spaces, hallways, bathrooms, kitchen areas, we coded that as recorder because it was a recorder lease, just for information there. And also in the effect though, I point out that only 7% of these RPF expenditures, the recorder fund expenditures, have been for this storage space. So as far as what is the impact of this, not great. That's $60,000. In fact, you can see from the graph about 300,000 or more expenditures per year. Most of those expenditures are actually transmitting other fees to the state of Missouri and not for just recorder office expenses. They really only have the storage site and then also their software system, or their main two vendors, as you can see, in comparison to the fees they're remitting to various state funds. So it's not that large of an impact. Indeed, it hasn't really affected their cash position of the Recorder Preservation Fund. As this chart shows, they're around $1.3 million. They've been able to stabilize that fund. It has some challenges with covering the transfer costs for GIS. The centralized costs of our GIS department are transferred out of this fund, but also they have subscription revenue coming in. And as Sandy, we'll talk about in the next meeting, there's a law that passed that's actually going to increase the fee funding the recorder fund up from $2 to $3. So really the financial impact of this fund long-term because of the situation won't be great. But all that aside, we do still make the recommendation. We say for these departments that don't have an agreement, we recommend you strike an agreement. Okay, so do the same thing you do with the circuit clerk, JIS. As far as a timeline, we want to have an achievable recommendation, useful recommendation, so we'd like to see it done by the end of the year. We think that's realistic. We can use the same template format that was done with the circuit clerk JIS. We did observe, though, specifically with information technology, IT, don't really want to pick on that department, but there's essentially a server there, a backup server, that's not really a record in the technical sense, a paper record, so to speak. There's also some space that I'm very familiar with where we inventory surplus electronics before they are disposed of, and we look at them at that site. It's a place where we, get them prepared. And so there are spaces that are definitely not records, and so for that, we recommended that there be reimbursement of the recorder fund with the IT budget. In response to that, management staff did say that they believe the server backup is essentially a record in the sense that we are storing county data we're preserving it. And so there could be a contemplated use under the recorder fund, to which, we basically point out that disaster recovery usually means, continuing operations. It's not just for the purpose of preserving information. And as I pointed out, there are some spaces that are really not records at all. But if there's an agreement that can be also obtained with IT, then we would consider that a compliant use. But I do want to step back and just say, kind of bottom line, this is we didn't put this in a report, but this is a very needlessly complex situation, in my opinion. The county could have easily just taken this lease on itself, and the county's name and the recorder would pay its portion, right? So you can split a payment. It's only $2,450 a month. So that could be another solution. County just take control of the lease and recorder pay its portion. We leave that up to management administration as the best path forward, whether it's reimbursing the recorder fund for those non-recorder uses or paying the vendor directly as allocated. But all that is said, because of the impact of this condition, and that there has been some effort made toward it, we rewarded 4 out of 5 stars, which we do have a definition of that meaning good and effective compliance. I really want to thank Sandy for cooperation. This was a very smooth audit, especially for my new employee. It's one that we're using as a training development opportunity, and I think it's been very, very successful. And so that is essentially the follow-up status of the state audit of the recorder of deeds. Happy to answer any questions.
Are there any commissioners with any questions or comments?
And if Sandy, if you'd like to say anything, you're welcome to.
I see none. So thank you very much for, as usual, a very comprehensive and professional report.
You're all.
That brings us to, excuse me.
County Administrator.
That brings us to the County Administrator comments.
The work. Our next business meeting is scheduled for August 13th, 2026 at 6 p.m. As well as this week, I was able to attend the Sheriff's Office National Night Out that was held at Pleasant Valley Baptist Church due to construction over at the Liberty parking lot. The construction there, they moved it. I went last year and I went this year. It was very successful. To me, I think it was more people there this year, probably because of the location. But there was a lot of families out enjoying it. I did not try the drunken goggles this time, but I did try the food truck, and very, very good food trucks. The other one is we had the Stop the Bleed Narcan training put on by Christine Poltz with our risk management. Had a good turnout there, but also a good opportunity for training. We have another training come up this coming week as well. And also, just want to give congratulations to our GIS manager, Sarah Rose. She was nominated for Missouri Mappers Association Boss of the Year by her staff. Sarah won that nomination and will receive a 2026 MMA Boss of the Year award tomorrow morning in Columbia, Missouri. So wish her congratulations. There's a very good recognition, not only from her staff, but also from the whole state of Missouri that within her form. So another rock star that we have in our staff there. Another one I want to say, I was very impressed by those presentations. I agree, 20 kids is very hard to present in front of, but also it also shows the amount of that our staff does. And so, where did you at? There you go. Do you mind standing up for me? I want to say I appreciate the work you do that Aaron Kagay? Yes. Yesterday, Tuesday, he was there as also at the night out with John presenting him and his staff, but they do an excellent job with that. I came here last year, noticed that, and then the continuation. But if any one of you have kids in college, you understand that to have someone who thinks enough of their profession to pour into others, that then eventually pour into your community, it says a lot about what they're doing. So I want to thank you for what you do with those interns. So that'd be it for me tonight.
Thank you very much. That brings us to Commissioner comments. Commissioner Withington. There you go.
Congratulations, John, on your reelection. So it seems like every time there's an election, there's a screw up by the election board. This election was no different. I want to see if there's any way we can get the election board up here to explain to us why every election there's a screw up. Is that something we can work on, Damon? I mean, it's every election. Every election, Damon, there's a screw up.
Yeah.
We're talking small elections, medium-sized elections, big elections, there's a screw up. John's been the victim of a screw up 2 times. So we need to get to the bottom of how these problems keep happening, why they keep happening, where the breakdown is. I mean, we owe it to our voters to make sure that the elections, are
done.
run smoothly and there's no problems.
I can't say we have complete oversight. We do manage a portion of the budget that's split between us and Kansas City. But they do have election board themselves. And one of the things that we can do is reach out to them along with their staff and then work through that as far as what steps could be taken and what has been taken and what needs to be taken in order to ensure that going forward.
Yeah, and I've
it's
already
done
called Maggie.
Okay.
I mean, we ran into this problem last year.
Yeah.
Big issues last year. They overhauled half the board.
Yeah.
We still had the same problems.
Same
problems. I've called Maggie. Something's got to change.
Definitely.
So if you can try to work on that.
We'll do.
We got to ensure in November there's no problems.
Yeah.
Commissioner Lawson.
Yeah, I agree with you. And this hasn't been just the first time or the second time. I can go back elections, you'll remember, way back where they lost whole precincts of votes. So, like he said, this is one of our greatest treasures, is the ability to go out and vote for whomever you please. And every time we do that, something comes up. We've spent so much on new machines, on all kinds of technology, yet we can't seem to give the people the right ballots to use. So while we don't completely control them, there is a board and something needs to be done, and that board either needs changes or they need to get more involved and make sure that things are done right. But with all of that happening, I'm thrilled that John has won again. He's a great person to deal with. He's consistent, he's honest, just as the day is long. So thrilled to have you back and work with you for another couple years.
Commissioner Wagner.
Yes, thank you. It bears mentioning that, in order to have a good democracy, you need to have people willing to step up and to put down their signature and be willing to take the slings and arrows that comes with elections, at least American elections, as opposed to other countries where incredibly people get like 99% of the vote. I won't point them out, but there are places like Venezuela and Russia. But
not to name names.
Not to name names.
Yeah.
But so it is important to our democracy that people are willing to step forward, and to those that did, whether they succeeded or failed in their election, I thank you for doing that. It's not easy. But I do also want to add my kudos to our colleague, and I do have to say that although he's left, Commissioner Withington was a little incorrect. Commissioner Carpenter was not reelected. He won a whole new place, a whole new office, mine. And so I just want to let you know, Commissioner, that for as long as I'm still in this position, whatever I can do to get you ready to take on my position, I am willing to do, because you're currently Western Commissioner 1, I'm Western Commissioner 2, and let me tell you, that means twice the work, twice the time, twice everything, and I want to make sure that you are ready from day one. So whatever I can do, I'm willing to do. But all humor aside, congratulations. You ran a good campaign. You deserved your victory, and look forward to what you will do wherever they decide to seat you come January. Congratulations.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Johnson.
I too want to extend my congratulations to Commissioner Carpenter on his win. I'll agree, I'm in Eastern seat number 2. It is twice the work. So I understand the burden that you carry. But congratulations, and to follow up on both what Commissioner Whittington and Commissioner Wagner said, first of all, I do want to publicly thank all those people who worked on our election. I don't know if you know, but the majority of people that are out there, I mean, there's a handful of people that are paid, but the majority of people are volunteers that go out there, you know, whether the election judges or the people that are checking you in and whatever it is. Those are all volunteers, and they spend, most of them are up at 5 in the morning or there at 5 in the morning to get ready for the polls to open, and they work long, hard days. And so I want to say thank you to them, and I appreciate the work that they've done. There were some glitches that I wasn't happy about either. I went on the election board website to see where my polling place was because it's changed a couple times. And so I found my polling place. I pulled up a sample ballot. It's the wrong sample ballot, and they sent me to the wrong polling place. When I got there, they said, no, you don't belong here. I said, well, this is my address, and this is what the election board says. And they said, nope, you don't belong here. So those things are going to happen. I get it, and it wasn't that big a deal for me or my family, but I think the bigger issue is the public trust and the public confidence. We have to always strive to be as transparent as possible. I think the election board was with their mistakes, but also strive to be the best we can be, particularly when it comes to elections and it comes to, there's nothing that makes me think anything at all nefarious was going on, but at the same time, it's the public confidence in our election system. It's always been in question, but it's one of the best there is. But still, it will always be in question. But we need to do the best we can. And if we can have of course, we don't have any control over them. But if we could have some members of the election board come and talk, but just explain some things to us and be just more transparent with folks about what happened and what we can do moving forward, what they can do moving forward, I think it'd be a good thing. But I do appreciate all the work that they do, and that particularly all those volunteers. It's a lot of work. It's a long day. I've talked to several of them. It's a long day, so I appreciate that. So with that, again, congratulations, John.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Thank you to each of you for the kind words. It really is heartwarming, honestly it is. And I also want to say thanks to Teresa earlier for your comments. Really grateful to have had a friendly competition, as I think we both agree, it ought to be in the country. We're very lucky to have been born in a time and place in which we get to settle our differences through democratic elections. Most people through history have not been so lucky. And the beautiful thing is we get to plan our common futures together. And where we disagree, every couple of years we get to hold elections, and on and on and on and on it goes. And it's the best system available. And I feel incredibly grateful that it's the one that we got. So appreciate you all, and we'll keep it going. Thanks.
Commissioner Wagner's comments put me in mind of something. We both have advertising backgrounds. And at one point there was an advertising campaign, I hate to say how many years ago. We're number 2, but we try harder. Is that kind of where you're leading this thing, I think?
However you wish to.
But yes, congratulations, Commissioner, for being elected to a different seat. I'll try to phrase that correctly. I also want to say thank you to everyone who participated in the election this time, whether a candidate, whether victorious, whether not victorious, or whether moving on to the next election cycle. Certainly, we all understand the sacrifice that is made by those who choose to follow this pursuit. Whether they are successful or not, they are certainly citizens who have put themselves on the line for our system. So we certainly appreciate that. It would be remiss not to also point out that there are a lot of people, not just those who are working the official side of the election process, but those volunteers who are out there at the polls working for either candidates or causes they believe in. They are truly people who become involved in this system, and I think we should never get too far away from the realization that while we as elected officials have a lot to say about things, our opinions and our actions are minuscule compared to the will and the power, which is that of the people that we all celebrate. And we celebrated some weeks ago on the 4th of July. So we all understand that that is something that is the foundation of our and the strength of our system is that participation by our citizens. Want to say also that in that same vein, we seem to have had, and I haven't seen the latest numbers, we seem to have had a very high turnout given the nature of this election being an August ballot on a non-presidential year. It was really quite a heavy turnout, and that is a tribute to the citizens of this county who have chosen to engage and to make sure that they are making sure their voices are heard. Last thing I want to mention, and that is a different subject, and that is last Friday I attended the drug court. We have a number of those kinds of courts, veterans courts, here in Clay County. That's okay. Technology strikes again.
AI overlords, he's been talking about
But they are ceremonies of extraordinary emotional importance. And I always, as always, encourage all commissioners who are able to make it to go. I've said it before and I'll say it again, and that is we deal with issues here. For instance, the road issues that we were dealing with, they are going to affect a lot of citizens. And I believe that the actions that we take are going to positively affect those citizens as a whole. However, what the main feature of these drug courts, veterans courts, and the rest of them is that you actually see individual lives reclaimed. We're used to thinking in terms of the greater good, and well, we should be. But to actually witness lives being remade and lives that were essentially, in some cases, circling the drain, these people have essentially been reborn and are able to once again participate as positive forces within this community. It's one of those things that is remarkable, and it is very moving. And as I say, anytime that you have the opportunity, if you are able to make it, please go and be with these folks, because their stories are compelling, and the bravery of having to face some of their own internal demons is one of extraordinary courage and willpower. So truly, these are heroes. Particularly when you talk about Veterans Court, these are ladies and gentlemen who have faced, in some cases, battle. And yet their biggest battle is indeed within themselves. And these men and women have triumphed. And I guess the final point I want to make about this is the extraordinary success of these programs. The recidivism rate is extremely low. And if that is how we really are going to be solving a lot of our societal problems when it comes to incarceration, and that is to have these kind of programs that literally remake these human beings into law-abiding citizens and making jail time for them, additional jail time for them, as something that is just not necessary, that they've found that inner strength. So I know I'm kind of going on, but it is something that I see as very important and very impactful. So with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.